Hello everyone and welcome back to Packs and Recreation, and today we are back with Final Fantasy, baby, because the big red man didn't only bring some nice presents, he also came with a lot of Final Fantasy, which is good. And this means in this case scene boxes. So we got this nice bad boy box here made in the USA. So the Japanese bundles, the Chocobo bundles, are made in Japan. The scene boxes are made in the USA. So Final Fantasy is becoming Mr. Worldwide here. And the cool thing, or well, horrible, depending on where you stand and how attached are you to your money and how much of a Final Fantasy fan are you, is that we have not one, not two like Avatar, but 4 scene boxes for Final Fantasy. Now, scene boxes are a polemic product, and people have different opinions about it. So we are gonna, go through all of them, kind of look at the cards a little bit, look at the games they're representing, and at the end, open all the boosters, because each of them comes with 6 scene cards, 3 play boosters, and 6 art cards, and a display easel, which is a thing. So the good thing about this is that, this is a way of getting some representation for some of the other not so represented Final Fantasy games, starting with Final Fantasy 1. So Final Fantasy Garland at the Chaos Shrine. Garland, depending on how you want to say it. Now, you can see that this came right off the box and it's already like peeled here, like what's up with that? But even if this is kind of obviously a present product, like a gift product, it's a shiny box that is full of air, and it's kind of a cool thing to see on the shelves. It is what it is. Now, all of them come with 3 play boosters, 6 art-only scene cards, and a display easel, and then 6 traditional foil scene cards, which are the cards that we are actually going after. It's cool that you can just, if you see this on the shelf and for some reason you live under a rock and you haven't seen them online, you can read the cards, and that explains the card, but also you get to choose whether or not you want to buy this based on that. Now, legendary scenes come to life. We're going to open the first one and show the easel and how that works and all that shebang, but the others, we're just going to go direct to the cards and just do the thing, right? So we got some representation for some less loved games because, we got Commander decks for Final Fantasy, and we got Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 14, and I don't know why I'm like Final Fantasy 10. I don't know why it was so difficult for me, but whatever. So it makes sense because Final Fantasy 7 is likely the most famous Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 6 is the best Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 10 is a lot of people's most beloved Final Fantasy because it's the Final Fantasy from the PlayStation 2 era, the most sold console ever. And Final Fantasy 14 because weebs. So that made sense, but it felt like, there are more games. So what they are doing is one for Final Fantasy, one for Final Fantasy 15, Camp Comrades. And yes, the scenes are what you are seeing here, and the cards make that. One for Final Fantasy 8, which is great, because Final Fantasy 8 lives in the shadow of Final Fantasy 7, and that's tragic. And Final Fantasy 9, which I feel a lot of people know about now because of Bibi, but it feels like it also lives in the shadows of Final Fantasy 7, because, 7 and 8 were like cool and, steampunk or futuristic, and this one was like magic again, and a lot of people didn't like it. Ironic, because now a lot of people are asking for this, but I digress. So we're opening this in the only correct way of doing it, which is numeric. So Final Fantasy 8, 9, 15 is going to be the last, and Final Fantasy 1. So we're going to start with Final Fantasy 1. Final Fantasy 1 says combine series borderless to make this scene. Cool. We have the pillar here. Now, as I show you this, what the hell? Yep, it shows on camera. What the hell? This thing is coming apart. I think it's the foil. Well. Now, you are likely thinking, well, is it worth it? Well, this is kind of something that you buy for someone else, right? It is not necessarily something that you buy for yourself unless you love Final Fantasy like me or you're a weeb or something. But so you get this, which is never very clear to me what is this supposed to be, but it has a semi-deck holder, which is also not very clear to me why this is. I don't think they ever explain why this is so modular. So normally inside here you will have the 3 boosters, which, as you can see, compared to the ones in the Chocobo bundle, these have a lot more opacity to it. So these are American ones, and the scene cards, both the art cards and the actual Magic the Gathering cards. The rest is just cardboard. This is nothing. Some people use it to display some cards or whatnot, but it is what it is. And here you get also a lot of cardboard. So you get a divider with the Magic the Gathering symbol, which is cool. And then you get one with, in this case, Garland. So with one of the cards from the set as a divider. Now, you could use the art cards as dividers, but this is bigger and it's better for sorting cards. If you are like me sometimes, you can also cut the Final Fantasy logo and do things with it, like dividers or something. Now, this is the easel, what they call an easel, which, to be honest, I don't know how much of a made-up word is that, but basically, you have the seating here. And this is why this product is so confusing to me to a degree, because, and it has always been, since the Lord of the Rings, which I think is the first one that introduced this. They do this for Universes Beyond. Obviously, this is, to catch the eye of like people on like Walmart and the supermarkets and stuff like that. It's very inexpensive for them. It's a couple of cards and then 3 boosters. It's a very nice gift product. I guess it's the equivalent of a gift box, but without the gift box. So why I say this is funny, because you have the same scene 3 times. So if you buy this for yourself, you better like that freaking scene, because you have it here, which is, well, the best way to actually see the scene is this one. And this has a stand, so it will stand like this, right? So if you actually want to display it, there you have it. A friend of mine, what they do is actually, they cut this, right? And they frame this. They use this as something to frame, because it's a lovely piece of artwork that, well, they like. Now, granted, and you will see this with the other scene boxes, the quality of the composition varies, because, mind you, they still need to do 6 cards, and you can clearly tell that's the case. They need to have a subject frame in all those 6, and sometimes it looks better than others. For example, here the composition is more or less fluid, because it's like the Final Fantasy party fighting against Garland, and here's the thing. Like, it works. In some others, it's more abstract, but you can always tell, it's like, it is what it is, and in others, is not very discreet. So, it is what it is, right? So, some people like it more than others. And then on the back is this. Why? Because the boosters want to open at the end, by the way, so I'm going to leave them here, but you get a fake booster with the art cards. So, and yes, these are to recreate the scene and what you're expected to do. And again, I'm only going to do it once for the first one, then the others you can imagine, and we can just talk about the cards, is you peel this a little bit, and you can put here your cards, your playing cards, or your art cards. And I always felt confused about this, because, and again, I don't want to complain too loud, because last time we complained about something, they took it from us, and now the commander decks don't have the collector's first one is free thing, and they don't have a life counter anymore, and the bundles don't have the boxes inside, and, so I don't want to complain too much, but they give you the 6 cards to do this, I guess, because it's fun, I guess, while you have this in the back. So why? This is fun, but this is the superior version. Now, if this is for putting the actual game cards, that will be more like, but I don't think anyone will put actual game cards in here, so that's why they give you the art cards. I mean, I love it as a celebration of art in Magic the Gathering, but you know what I mean? It will make more sense to me if they just give you these ones and just, I don't want to complain too much. This is what it is. So, you know, you put them like this and it looks, you know, from above it looks weird, but it is basically this. It's interesting, but it's weird. And, you know, if you want to put your actual cards in here, sleeve them at least. And then on the back, you have the actual piece of art. I don't know. I don't have anything displayed like this. Of all the ones that I have, I don't have any displayed like this, just because I don't get it. I do have a couple of these things cut. So, you know, I guess your preference, your choice. So there is that. And then now let's see the cards, the actual cards. For the Final Fantasy 1 Sin box. So we get Garland, Royal Kidnapper. For 2, 1 blue, 1 black, is a 3/4 Human Knight. When Garland enters, target opponent becomes the Monarch. Not bad. Obviously, very oriented for Commander. Most of these cards are. Whenever an opponent becomes the Monarch, gain control of target creature the player controls for as long as they are the Monarch. Creatures you control but don't own get +2/+2 and can be sacrificed. Not bad. You know, not bad. Kind of a cool commander or cool creature to have in the 99. The Destined Warrior. I love the naming convention they went for these ones because they didn't have names. So, the Destined Warrior for 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black is a legendary creature, Human Warrior. It's a 3/3. First strike, Vigilance and Menace. Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, and Wizard spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. At the beginning of combat on your turn, creatures you control get +1/+0 until the end of turn. If you have a full party, creatures you control get +3/+0 until the end of turn instead. Now, what is a full party? Well, technically, you need to have a Warrior, a Rogue, a Cleric, and a Wizard. It's not explicit here, but yeah. So this works a lot better, with D&D cards. The Destined White Mage, they are all the Destined, class. For 2 and 1 white is a 2/3 Human Cleric that has lifelink, and for 1 white and tap another target creature you control gains lifelink at the end of turn. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. If you have a full party, put 3 +1/+1 counters on that creature instead. Chaos Shrines, Chaos. Well, a lot of people say that the spin-off. What was the name of the spin-off? Damn, I forgot the name. Paradise, Stranger's Paradise, Final Fantasy something. I don't remember the name. It was the perfect prequel to Final Fantasy 1, but for some reason it's not canon. Chaos Shrine, Black Crystal. For 3 and 1 black. Legendary artifact. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, exile it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a creature card exiled with Chaos Shrine's Black Crystal onto the battlefield under your control with a finality counter on it. Not bad. The Destined Thief. For 2 and 1 blue is a 2/2 Human Rogue. The Destined Thief can't be blocked. For 1 blue and tap, another target creature you control can be blocked this turn. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to 1 or more players, draw a card, then discard a card. If you have a full party instead, draw 3 cards. And the Destined Black Mage, for 2 and 1 black, is a 3/2 Human Wizard with Death Touch. It has black and tap. Another target creature you control gains Death Touch until the end of turn. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, the Destined Black Mage deals 1 damage to each opponent. If you have a full party, it deals 3 damage to each opponent instead. So, the theme here is very clear, it's very party-like, but it does feel like, not to be that person, but it does feel like a lot of these cards, like half of these cards go into one deck and the other half go into the other. Like, Garland is very obviously for its own deck. I guess you could put it, it feels like Destined Warrior is kind of the best commander I think this is a very good commander for a very specific type of play. It does feel like these 4 should go into the same deck, which is actually not bad. And if you make it full of D&D cards with, party mechanics, like that precon that had the lady with the with the yellow, with the yellow hood. This one. So Nalia de Arnis, there you go. So Nalia is white and black, but all the things in her deck are rated to cleric, rogue, warriors, and wizards and whatnot. So the Destined Warrior has blue on top, so you get more options, I guess. But they don't need to be together, but they feel like they work together. The Chaos Shrine Black Crystal can go anywhere, really. So it feels like that sort of combo, but a very fun commander. This is more of a party trick, never, pun intended. And the Chaos Shrine Black Crystal, well, it's for a different deck. I mean, let's be honest, just disclaimer, I try to band them together for flavor reasons, but these cards are kind of for you to put whenever, whatever, like Shakira will say. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they're not supposed to be played all together, right? So it is what it is. I just try to do it for fun. But yeah, Garland is a fun commander, I think, and likely, if you pressure me into it, likely the funniest, the best card in here. You can do very crazy interactions with him because, again, someone becomes a monarch, which gives them a card, but whenever they become a monarch, you steal a creature from them. So, whenever they get damage, you steal someone else. So you're always stealing different creatures. That can be good or bad. I don't know. For certain, it will force some mechanics into the group. So now scene number 2, Final Fantasy VIII, Children of Fate. Kind of an interesting composition, but a little bit all over the place in terms of what we are representing here. Yes, it's something about the foil process in this. When you peel this off, a lot of dust comes off, and kind of like the foil part of the box comes off, which is weird. I guess that's what you get when it's made in the USA. Am I right? So this is another box that kind of opened itself, as you can see. I don't know why this is happening, but it is happening. Normally, they will try to... Okay, I digress. So, dividers, you get Squall in one of the dividers, and the Magic the Gathering logo. The Magic the Gathering logo like this is kind of clean and it's cool, and this screams Final Fantasy to a degree, but just give me one that says Final Fantasy. And then, all the cardboard. The 3 boosters that we add to the pile for the end of the video. Now the art cards, I'm not going to open them just because we're not going to put this here, but we can look at the scene. So, if you do it like this, it will be a sensible composition that kind of makes sense. This makes sense too, but you can tell why it's there and why it's cheating. But, this composition feels clean as well. Not the worst. Then again, on the back is this, and now we're going to look at the cards. Again, this is why it feels like a gift product, because it's like, well, you get 3 boosters as well, so you can have some fun. It's that type of product. So let's see. Edea, Possessed Sorceress, or Edea. For 2, 1 black, 1 blue, 1 black, and 1 red, is a 2/5 human warlock. It has Ward 2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, gain control of target creature and opponent controls until the end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste until the end of turn. Okay, so similar to Garland, which with some distances, obviously, because it doesn't play with the monarch. It is more of like combat, and you could argue it's better because it's on combat, so you get one of them and you can get haste. You can throw it against things. It has ward. Remember, a creature you control but don't own dies. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control, and you draw a card. So that's where the catch is. It encourages you to volunteer your opponent's creatures, but you can't really you get cards, I guess. So it's not that bad, but it is what it is. Fated Clash for 3 and 2 white is a sorcery that says you may cast this spell as though it has flash if a creature is attacking and a creature is blocking. Target creature you control and target creature an opponent controls each gain indestructible until the end of turn, then destroy all creatures. Not bad. It's actually as though if it has flash, if a creature is attacking and a creature is blocking, so that's good, and it's kind of representing of the scene that is happening. Kind of expensive though. Okay, it's a board wipe that allows you to selectively not destroy 2 creatures, one of yours and some other. It doesn't necessarily need to be the ones that are fighting, so you can do some politics with this in Commander. But still, I guess it would be better if it was 1 cheaper, 2 and 2 wide or something like that. But interesting card nonetheless. Rinoa, Angel Wing, for 2 and 1 white, and this card kind of looks good standalone, so not bad, is a 2/4 Human Rebel Warlock. At the beginning of combat on your turn, creatures you control with flying get +1/+1 and gain vigilance until the end of turn. Whenever 1 or more attacking creatures you control die, you may return one of them to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control with a flying counter on it. Do this only once each turn. So, well, it's okay. Maybe, sure, you can do things like, whenever one of more attacking creatures you control die, it returns with tapped with a flying counter on it. And if it has flying, it gets +1/+1 and vigilance until the end of turn. So I guess you can keep throwing the same creature because it doesn't have a finality counter or anything. So not bad, but not crazy, not overly aggressive. Safer, Balamb Rival. For 2, 1 black and 1 red is a 4/3 human mercenary that has first strike. Whenever you attack a player, go to target creature that player controls. Whenever a creature attacking one of your opponents becomes blocked by 2 or more creatures, that attacking creature gains Death Touch until the end of turn. Not bad. Kind of a good, goading. It has first strike. So you get that. You get some spice there, but whenever you attack a player, it doesn't need to be with safer. So, as you can see, you could group the ones in the Final Fantasy 1 box together to a degree. Like you have the 4 heroes and then an artifact and then Garland. Here the cards are all over the place. It's kind of difficult to see them working together more or less reasonably. You can tell that there is a theme of combat in here. Again, this is just 6 cards that they threw together and people use them for Commander and whatnot. But I like to see if there is a pattern or something. And you can tell there is a combat pattern, like beginning of combat on your turn, you get control of creatures. If you are in combat, you can cast it as it has flash, and obviously because it's the final duel, right? But that sort of thing. And here is the same, you attack, you goad, etc. Duelist Flame for X and 2 red is an instant that says, until the end of turn, target blocked creature you control gets +X/+0 and gains trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, look at that many cards from the top of your library, exile up to 1 non-land card from among them, and put the rest in the bottom of your library in random order. You may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. Not bad. And the problem is that the creature that it's blocked gets +X/+0 and gains trample, and when this creature does combat damage to a player, look at that many cards, exile up to, this is actually kind of a good card because you can get +0/+0, so you just pay 2 red, and it will still give you its benefits because it gives you trample. So if you're gonna trample over, that's cool. The only thing is that depending on how many you are trampling over, which this can be devastating or very cool if it's a typical situation, you have a big creature and it's blocked by a 1/1 or something. You get trample, which is dangerous enough. But then also, whenever this creature does combat damage to the player, look at that many cards from the top of your library, and then you exile one that is a non-land, and you cast it with a paying mana cost. So this is actually a very good card for 2 red, at least in my opinion. The X is completely optional. It's not like other cards that, if the plus X will be the number of cards that you need to check from your library, but not really. It's the difference in damage what you need to look for your library. So if you're already being blocked and winning, you're just getting blocked. You get trample and you get to summon something without, paying its mana cost. So that's kind of good. Again, combat based. And last but not least, Squall, Gunblade Duelist for 1 red, 1 white, and 1 black. Is a 3/2 human mercenary. Has first strike. As a Squall enters, choose a number. Whenever 1 or more creatures attack one of your opponents, if any of those, whenever 1 or more creatures attack one of your opponents, if any of those creatures have power or toughness equal to the chosen number, Squall deals damage equal to its power to the defending player. So, kind of again, combat based, kind of random. Interesting if you put him in a deck around, jumping back in and out, because, it comes in, you choose a number. Whenever 1 or more creatures attack one of your opponents, so it can be you, it can be someone else, if any of those creatures have power or toughness equal to the chosen number, Squall deals damage equal to its power to defending player. So you can play it safe and say like 1 or 2, and there is always going to be a creature with 1 or 2 toughness. So, and it is kind of like a lottery to a degree. So it's kind of, need to be tricky. If you can obviously like put him in and out, you can adjust the number to the creatures on the board. Other than that, you kind of need to play it safe. Because you're not going to make the damage that is the number of creatures or the number that you guess. It's just that if that number is in the creatures that have, if they have power or toughness with that number, it works. So if you say 2 and someone is attacking with, plus it's like power or toughness, so it's kind of flexible. So if you say 2 and they attack with this one, it counts. They attack with this one, it counts. With this one, it wouldn't. And similar here, right? Like saying 2 or 3 is kind of a safe bet, right? Look, half of this will qualify, and that will make Squall trigger, and a Squall will make damage equal to its power to defending player. I guess if I read this correctly, it's equal to Squall's power. So in this case, it's 3, but you can equip him and make some cool damage. So I can see a commander deck around this, but like if you have something like Humility, which a lot of people hate that card, that could be interesting. Like you say, like, okay, everything is a 1/1, right? Something like that. That can force that Squall is always right. You need to have something like that. If not, it's just luck. Next, Final Fantasy IX, The Siege of Alexandria. So same logic, but in this case for the beautiful and often undervalued Final Fantasy IX. So same logic, same shebang. You know it. A beautiful scene. Here they with these compositions they play this a lot. Like there are battles, except for the Final Fantasy 15 one, they are cooking in a camp. But they did a lot of like, the fight is here, and then the sky is here, instead of trying to do the whole, So this one looks nice. I like it. Now there is kind of a coward's choice. This one is also kind of open, to my dismay, and to everyone's. Same logic here. You get a Magic the Gathering divider and a Final Fantasy divider. It's a shame that Final Fantasy one is so dead inside. But, well, you get this, right? Same logic, same process. The 3 boosters, and we still have to open the boosters. Man, gotta speed up. Sonic is the name and speed is my game. Let's go. So, the Brilliant Wings for 1 and 1 white is an enchantment aura. It has flash, enchant creatures you control, enchant creature you control. Enchanted creature has flying and hexproof. Whenever a creature you control enters, you may pay 1. If you do, attach this aura to that creature. So, kind of a nice spell. A nice aura. Like, it has flash. It gives you flying and hexproof. It gives you like protection from stuff. You can do it. You can move it from creature to creature fairly easily. I feel like for some enchantment decks, like there are some precons for enchantments. There's one from Wilds of Eldraine. There's all around enchantments, and it's like white and green. This will be a perfect fit for that deck. Judgment of Alexander for 2 and 1 white is an instant. So prevent all damage that will be dealt to you this turn by sources your opponent's control. Whenever damage from a creature is prevented this way, each commander creature, well, they didn't go several on that one. This is clearly for a commander. Each commander creature you control deals damage equal to its power to that creature. Damn. It says each commander, which, if you have 2 commanders or something because of Doctor Who or partner or whatever, that's actually not bad. Prevent all damage. So that's kind of cool. And then damage from a creature is prevented this way. Each commander creature you control is damage equal to its power to the creature, which it's kind of a nice extra. Like, I feel like this could save you for like from a big hitter creature, not necessarily because your commander will do damage but won't kill it likely, Plus it's like you control, you have to have your commanders out. But if it is from like an onslaught of creatures, like for example, a token deck or something, your commander will clean their board. Like it's kind of a extra steps board wipe, so not bad. Mega Flare for 2 and 1 red is a sorcery. It has kicker. Everything is kicker for 3 and 2 red. If this spell was kicked, create a 6/6 red dragon creature token with flying. It's a shame that it doesn't include the token. For each opponent, choose up to 1 target creature the player controls. Mega Flare deals damage equal to the greatest power among creatures you control to each of those chosen creatures. Again, you can tell that there is a kind of a flavor for each box. Like the first one was like combat party kind of thing. The second one is pure combat, and this one is more like messing with stuff, with boards, with like board wipes and whatnot. Amaranth Coral for 2, 1 red and 1 green is a legendary creature, human monk. That is a 5/4 and has trample, and Amaranth Coral attacks each combat if able, or Amaranth Coral. No mercy. Whenever Amaranth Coral deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. So not bad. And then flavor text. But, it's always attacking. It has trample. And, it's a cool commander. I feel like you could put a lot of things in it, make it very Voltron, and, it's always attacking. And if it makes damage to an opponent, it deals that damage to everyone else. The problem is that this is clearly the type of commander that, will put the entire table against you. So I guess you better have some protection by hand by the moment you play this. Funny enough, if you actually play him as a commander, you kind of can only use Mega Flare because these 2 are white cards. So it is what it is. Vivi's Persistence. Now, you can call them cowards because this should clearly be a Vivi card, but, stocks, I guess. For 1 and 1 red, is an instant that says create a 0/1 black wizard creature token with, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this token deals 1 damage to each opponent, which is not very bad at all. Whenever your commander enters or attacks, you may pay 2. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. So, once again, it feels to me like someone at Wizards of the Coast is a VV stan, like all the way. Like, the VV cards are crazy. This card is very versatile. Actually, it matches. Actually, what the fuck I'm saying? No, it doesn't. Like, these cards are like scattered all over the place in terms of like they all feel like they will be useful for very specific decks. The creatures not necessarily go together, but for a wide red deck or a multicolor deck, these cards can all go together and be very messy, and I feel that black wizard token that you have in there can do a lot of damage. Like you create it, or you cast a non-creature spell, that token deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you just creating more BVs because you use this card, you get a token, does that, and then your commander enters or attacks. So if your commander just keeps popping and going in and out, or just attacking, you pay 2. This card goes back to your hand. Then obviously this is a kind of a mana sink, so it's not a perfect loop because you need to pay 2 and then pay 2 against a 1/1 red the next turn or like immediately. So that you get an instant, you get a black wizard. The black wizard gets triggered by this card because it's a non-creature spell. It does 1 damage to each opponent, and it has somewhat of a potential to go infinite under some circumstances, but at least it's a very cool card. And then Search for Dagger for 1/1 white is an enchantment. Whenever your commander enters or attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a legendary creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So at least, except for the only commander that you have here, which is Amaranth Coral, everything else is like red and white, and they feel like they could go together in a very annoying red and white deck. Sadly, not with Amaranth Coral as their commander. Even though, even if it had the color identity, it wouldn't fit the rest of the triggers. But you will need a commander that, yes, enters or attacks a lot. So both these and these, ironically, will kind of go okay with Amaranth Coral. Like every time you attack, it attacks each combat if able, blah, blah, blah. Like, sadly, I get why it's red and green, but I don't know. Again, these cards are not supposed to go together. These are just, they go together in terms of a scene, right? But they are not, just because you buy the box doesn't mean you have to play with all of them together. But it's interesting that that's the only thing, because they do have some nice interactions between them. So, in this case, commander entering or attacking, you look at 6 cards, you reveal a legendary creature, put into your hand, and then the rest. So it's kind of a good way of just pulling legendary creatures into the battlefield. So not that bad. And last but not least, taking longer than I was expecting, to be honest, Final Fantasy 15 Camp Comrades, or Comrades, or Camarada. So same logic. In this case, I will say this is the weakest in terms of visual composition, which is a shame because it's making it very difficult for anyone to beat the Final Fantasy 15 allegations. Like they just keep fumbling Final Fantasy 15, man. I don't know what to do. The drill, same logic, same principle. A nice scene. I mean, it's a nice change of pace. This one doesn't have a battle in it. Now, the scene composition is weird. I have to commend the artist because, the angle is what it is, and it's the only scene that is not like people flying and people on the ground. So it's kind of a angle thing. It's like they're all together, but it looks weird. If you don't focus your eyes on the picture, it looks like it's like 2 pictures. Like this is picture 1, which is them camping, and picture 2, which is Noctis sulking. Which, well, that will be lore accurate, to be honest, but still. Now you have Noctis as a divider and the Magic the Gathering thing, and all the cards fell out. So Boosterinos, art cards, and let's see, Noctis, Heir Apparent. For 1 white, 1 blue, and 1 black is a 2/3 human noble. Whenever a creature you control enters during your combat, you may attach target equipment you control to target creature you control, which makes sense. It's like when Noctis shares the light weapons with people, but still, Warp Strike, you pay 3, exile Noctis, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control, tapped and attacking at the beginning of that player's next declare attacker's step. It can be blocked at combat. That's kind of flavorful and kind of cool. Now, I feel like they have some restrictions because of the other Noctis card. There is Noctis Lucius Calem, which is a good card. And this one kind of, Noctis has 2 trades, which is he teleports with weapons and he sulks. It's like, so whenever a creature you control enters during combat, you may attach target equipment you control to target creature you control. That's good for you to move equipment around. So I wouldn't like build a commander around this, but I guess that's okay. And Warp Strike is cool, but paying 3, exiling it, and returning to the battlefield under your zone of control, tapped and attacking at the beginning of that player's next declared attacker step is cool if you want to force, triggers, some of the triggers that we saw before, of like, if you commander those damage and whatnot. But not overly excited about this. Fishing gear for 3 is an equipment. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library. If it's a permanent card, you may put it onto the battlefield under your control. If you don't, create a 1/1 blue fish creature token. Equip 2. Now, don't you love it that and this is something that I love about Magic. Like sometimes I love it, like sometimes they release a new set and some of the most powerful creatures or cards are no-name cards, like Orcish Bowmasters. Like, it's not Gandalf, it's not, it's not Frodo, it's Orcish Bowmasters. And a lot of that happens a lot with multiple sets. And here is kind of, and for Avatar, it was also like the mole, the something mole cub, the bear mole cub or something. It's always like no-name things that almost break the game. BV was an exception. And this is kind of the case. It's like Fishing Gear is actually kind of a very good card. Ironically, it's Fishing Gear. It's not the Swords of Light of Noctis or anything. It's just Fishing Gear. Why? It does go nicely with Noctis, I guess, because you can re-equip it very quickly. But, whenever a equipped creature does combat damage to a player, and if you equip it to Noctis, and Noctis can attack and not be blocked, so that's good. You exile the top card of your player library, so you're basically playing a game of chance here. If it's a permanent, which permanent is a lot of cards, you may put it into the battlefield under your control. That's basically, except for instants and sorceries, is basically almost everything else, right? Like, that's kind of cool. And then if you don't, you still get a fish. Like, you know what I mean? Now, Chocobo Camp is a land, the only land of this whole shebang. This land enters tapped unless you control a legendary creature. Not difficult in Commander. Tap, you add 1 green. When you next cast a bird creature spell this turn, it enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. And if you pay 2 and 2 green and tap, you create a 2/2 green bird creature token with whenever a land you control enters, this token gets +1/+0. So again, this doesn't match anything else we've seen so far. It feels obviously a very flavorful card. It should be included with all the Chocobo bundles. It's interesting. It's an interesting card. It's an interesting land. Like whenever you cast a bird, if you have a lot of birds, I guess it makes sense as a land. Otherwise, it's kind of a worthless land, not very useful. The 2 and 2 green is okay. It gives you 2/2, but the 2 that has landfall. But not overly crazy. Flash Photography. You have Prompto there with a Chocobo. For 2 and 2 blue is a sorcery. It says, you may cast this spell as though it had flash if it targets a permanent you control. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent. Not bad. And you can cast it again for flashback. So, not bad at all. So if you want to copy yourself, it has flash and, token that's a copy of target permanent. Not bad. You can copy someone else, but at sorcery speed, kind of a good card, just flexible. Campsite Cuisine, for 1 and 1 green is an enchantment. Whenever this enchantment or a legendary creature you control enters, create a food token. Whenever you attack, you may sacrifice X foods. When you do, up to X target attacking creatures each get +3/+3 and gain trample and indestructible until the end of turn. So if you really want to go full food deck, this is actually kind of good. Because, every time you put enchantments or legendary creatures, you get food. And if you sacrifice an amount of food, which, you have to pay the amount, but whatever. When you do X attacking creatures, each get +3/+3 and trample indestructible, so not bad. It's kind of a nice flexibility spell. And last but not least, Warrior's Resolve with Gladiolus for 2 and 1 white. Has an enchantment that says, creatures you control have training. And training means whenever a creature you control attacks with another creature with greater power, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature with lesser power, which is very lore accurate. Actually, all of them are very lore accurate, which you will be like, duh, that's kind of a joke, but some of these are stretches. These are very lore accurate. At the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with +1/+1 counter on it, that attack this turn, draw a card. So not bad. Gladiolus, Warrior's Resolve. It's kind of a very good card. So overall, good. Now, before we go into Booster Mania, is it worth it? Well, if you get it for cheap, which is basically the cost of 3 boosters, then make it 4 because you get the promos, right? If you get it for the price of 4 boosters, I guess that's okay. Now, nowadays, I no longer know how much is the price of 1 booster because it fluctuates so much. It can be $6, it can be 4, it can be 5, it can be 8. So who knows? But bear that in mind. You're getting it mostly for the art cards and these cards. Some of these are cool, in my opinion. Obviously, some cards are better than others, but at least they are kind of packaged in ways of play. So Garland and the Final Fantasy 1 gang. It's like you either want to go like full party or you want to like mess around with your opponents. That's a cool set of cards to add to decks like that. Final Fantasy 8 is all combat oriented, so if you're a heavy combat player, that's very cool. Final Fantasy 9 is all about like protecting yourself and wiping the board and whatnot. So that's kind of that's the flavor there, except for like Commander that doesn't make a lot of sense. And the Final Fantasy 15 one is kind of all over the place, but has very cool cards for very specific builds. Like Gladiolus is a cool card for a specific build. Fishing Gear is very cool for specific things as well. So, my favorite in terms of art, it's a shame because I do have like good memories and good feelings of like Final Fantasy 15 and camping and whatnot, but the art, sorry, doesn't resonate with me. I am partial to this one, even though it gives me more of a Castlevania vibes than it gives Final Fantasy. But I have to say that I think the Final Fantasy 8 may be the best composed one. I think that gives the points. So I guess it will be somewhere between Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 8. And if you really, obviously the style, what is the style of Final Fantasy 1 if it's a game that, doesn't even have names for these characters, right? It was the first one. It was a Final Fantasy. I like it, but it smells like Castlevania to me. I guess it's not only the vampires. I think it's like the thief is really making it for me, and this smells like Alucard. So not saying that. So I guess Final Fantasy 8. I don't like the art style too much, but it is the art style of the game. It's like that 2000s render style, right? So I guess there's that. Visually, that's my favorite one. Now, mechanically, the one that resonates more with me, I think, is the best package overall. I think the Final Fantasy 1 is the best package in terms of like, if you want to play, party, you have 4 cards that play well together. Then you have an artifact that's kind of cool for some decks, and Garland is cool for its own deck. The others feel like cool cards, but more scattered. It doesn't mean that this is the most powerful. It's just my feelings. If I have to go with most powerful, it will be somewhere around Fishing Gear and some of the spells in Final Fantasy 9. So potato. It really comes down to, if you're buying the whole thing, it really comes down to which art you prefer and which game you buy with the most. Other than that, buy the singles. I guess that's that. Now, let's do the boosters. And here I was thinking, this is going to be quick and painless, but it wasn't. It's interesting. the contrast. I recently opened Japanese cards because of the Chocobo bundle. The texture on the American printed cards is rough compared to the Japanese and the European ones. Something that never ceases to amaze me because it's a minor thing, but it is what it is. And it doesn't smell bad. It doesn't smell good either. It smells like book with a touch of rancid. It doesn't smell pretty like the Japanese one. And the booster shrink wrapper just really disintegrates. Nice, Lucas Stadium. Not bad. Final Fantasy 10 all the way, baby. And the distribution is kind of all over the place too compared to other boosters. But I don't know, it feels rough to the touch and the printing quality is like opaque. So I don't know. Ooh, nice. Vince Valentine in foil. Not bad. Again, I'm not going to shit on anyone's country or anything. I'm just saying that I feel like I'm not even trying to open them. Now, if you go compare that with the Chocobo bundle video, like those were difficult to open for sure. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's just fun. Fun differences. The cards are the same though. And if you want me to go full canon, technically the ones printed in the US are the canon cards because Magic is from the US. So, you know. But if you want to be more canon, you can say the Final Fantasy is from Japan. So I guess the Japanese cards. The thing is, if you are from Europe, sorry. Go Master of Mimicry. Nice. A Chocobo Kick in foil. A Forest. And a nice art for Jill Shiva's Dominant. I was like, what is this? Final Fantasy 16. I don't recognize the art style because that's not the art style. Next. So I feel like with shrink wrappers, it has to be one of the two options. Is either the Japanese style, which is like they are hard as hell to open. You need to use the little cut that they have to open, or it has to be like this. Like when you try to pull them, they disintegrate. Why? Because that prevents people from resealing them, right? So the Water Crystal, not bad. And Marlboro in foil, a Plains, and a bird. It's very obviously a Chocobo and a Wizard. Remember, everything that you pull in these boosters is completely random, so don't hold your breath for anything I pull here. This is just the fun part. Remember, every time you open boosters or you buy boosters, even though it is fun, I mean, look at me, I'm having the time of my life. It is gambling after all, so don't hold your breath thinking like, oh, I want to pull that one, just buy the single. Cheaper for everyone. Edgar, King of Figaro, and Mughals Valor. Circle of Power in foil, and a Windurst Federation Center in foil. Another art card. I love it how like art cards were like such a given because it was like, oh, I buy set boosters. And no one cared. You could buy like a full set of art cards for like $5, $10 if you cared about that, because like no one cared. But now they print less and they are a rare side because they don't come in all play boosters. So now because of that, people want them. It's funny how humans work. When you have something readily available, no one cares. But when you can't have it, then suddenly it's a collectible. I guess the human nature is what it is. Van, Street Thief, Final Fantasy 12, right? Fate of the Sun Christ, and an island, and Angelo, and also Darkstar, which makes sense. If you're a JoJo fan, you can't listen to the name Angelo without like either memeing or like having bad memories. So not because the art was bad, but just because Angelo was a douchebag. Syncopate, Vincent's Limit Break, Shambling Sea, Kisti Strep or Trippy or Trepe, Ashe or Ash, Princess of Dalmasca. So Jex, Reluctant Guardian, a Slash of Light in foil, makes sense because it's foil, Windurst, and a hero that is also a treasure. we're halfway there. Whoa, whoa, living on a prayer. Summon Fat Chocobo. I love it. The randomness. Ooh. Shantoto's Coercion. Nice. I mean, it's just a rare, but I love the special treatments. Mostly when they are like, and I know I'm alone in this, but when they are like the art from the game, I love it. In the case of the Avatar ones, I don't, because they literally just grab the worst screenshot possible of the shows, like in Zoom, and the show is already kind of pixelated. So it's like, why would you do that? Oh, Ninja's Blade. Nice. But in the case of Final Fantasy, the art is always one of the highlights, so these cards are always gorgeous. Now, granted, since they do this Pokemon card style of having the text without boxes on top of the art, it can be difficult to read, and I am still on the fence regarding whether I like it visually or not, because, it's kind of 50-50. It's kind of a dirty style. But, it gives you, I was about to say, it gives you more of a unimpeded, Noctis, Prince of Luctis, of Lucis, damn, Lucis, has to be Lucis. Noctis, Prince of Lucis, because it's Noctis Lucius Callium, so it has to be a better Noctis than the one we put. An island, hero, and a copy. I don't know, I feel like if they added boxes, because some people say, like, oh, just add like a semi-transparent box, and that's it. But it kind of gets in the way of the art. And the text, if a card has a lot of text, it also gets in the way of the card, but, it doesn't have the box, so I guess it's less clutter. I don't know. I'm not an artist, so I don't know, but it's kind of a 50-50 thing. Dragoon's Lands, Mughal's Valor again, Grisal's Greens, Insomnia Crown City, and Rahanastre Royal City. 3 left. Remember, this is 3 boosters per scene box. Damn. I guess Mughal was raring to join. And a foil swamp. Town Greeter, Ice Magic, Dwarven Castle Guard, Thunder Magic, Blissful Shot, Monk's Fist, White Mage Staff. Everything that's from Final Fantasy 1. I don't envy the designers. Or the artists. Reno and Rude, Self-Destruct, Noctis again, Mughal's Valor again, Cactuar, in foil, a Swamp, and a hero that is also a Mughal. Retrieve the Esper, Fate of the Sun Christ, Red Mage Rapier, Black Mage's Rod, Instant Ramen, Shantoto's Coercion. It feels like, that in these products, it's similar to what happens with bundles. Technically, the boosters that you have are not from the same box, so your probabilities of getting different things are better. Ironically, it feels like they come from the same box because we get the same cards a lot. Ninja's Blades, even the rares and the mythics. So I guess, I don't know, maybe someone is going to correct me and be like, well, actually, you should know. Nice, Sephiroth. I hope we pull Sephiroth. You should know, but the boosters that you get are actually like from a very specific pool, which it wouldn't make sense. So I think it's just us getting unlucky here, but whatever. Sephiroth's Intervention, Gigantoad, Vincent's Limit Break, Adventures in and Wild Rose Rebellion. Again, not a very expensive card, but certainly a beautiful card because it's art from Master Amano, which is great. See, and again, the text. But when it's cards with so little text, this is kind of cool because it's just a counter spell. So, Dark Knight's Great Sword, Kina, and then Rufus Shinra, Midgar, City of Mako, or Mako, Scorpion Sentinel, and Treno, Dark City in foil. And then a hero that is also a bird. And that's it. So, in terms of pulls, as you can see, I wouldn't say we had crazy pulls. We had a couple of good-looking cards for sure, but nothing to drop your jaw. I mean, my memory may be failing me, but I don't even think we pulled a mythic or anything. Now, granted, we opened 12 boosters. I mean, it is what it is, but still, 12 boosters is a third of a box. So, I guess we just were unlucky, which is a good point to remember that if you want a specific card, just buy the singles. Now, I guess that's it. Is it worth it to buy a sin box? Well, again, you have to like Final Fantasy. Buying this without liking Final Fantasy, if you like the games in particular, this is one of the few rare occasions to get stuff from those games, because Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 8, 9, and 15 don't get that much love. Most of the love always goes to 7, or 14, or the most current one, which is ironic because I'm using a 16 playmat and they can do a lot of things with 16, which is weird because you will think that they will push more 16, but whatever. I guess it's forgotten to time. And 6 also doesn't get a lot of merch or anything, but it has a soft spot in people's hearts. So, but if you want some of the lesser advertised Final Fantasies, now ideally, obviously, yes, it will be things from Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3, Final Fantasy 4, those ones for sure, and 5. Those ones certainly are forgotten a lot of times, but you can only get so many. So if you're a Final Fantasy fan, sure, if you can get it for the recommended price, which is basically 4 boosters, you know what I mean? And you can get something out of the boxes and the art and the display, sure. If not, just buy the cards. Like, it's going to be a lot cheaper for you to just buy the singles that you want from here. Everything else is random. So if you want to buy it as a present for someone else, sure. As a present, it's harmless and cool. As someone that likes Final Fantasy, trust me, even with me already having these cards, if you get me this as a present, I will be like, oh, nice, And I guess, well, technically, if I already have it and open, I shouldn't open the one that you gave me because, might as well. But technically, I will open it again and just, 3 boosters, fun things, cards, I don't know. Potato. I think it's a harmless enough product. It's okay if you can get it from MSRP and whatnot, and it's as a gift. If you're a established player and, just get the cards that you want, and there's not much point to any of this. This is the gift product. This is the holiday product for Universes Beyond. But that's it. It was supposed to be quicker, and it became kind of the weekly podcast to a degree. But thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all those cool things that the cool kids do. And I hope to see you next time on PAX and Recreation. See you later. Bye 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 bye.